Now, there's an age-old idiom that says the best offense is a good defense, though I'm pretty sure it started the other way around. But that quote has never been more applicable than to this show. Yes, I have completed yet another series. Well, not really completed because this series is not done, but I've completed everything that's out for it so far. That being the first 3 seasons of The Rising of Shield Hero. Now, I remember when this show started coming out way back in about 2017. Looking back on it, I wish I had gotten into it at the time, but for whatever reason I didn't. Though, of course, that allowed me to then binge through the most recent 3 seasons of it. And goddamn, man. Since going through ReZero, I've started looking at Isekai differently. I've sort of just looked at Isekai as the meme it is, you know, based on shows like In Another World with My Smartphone, Reborn as a Vending Machine, all those memey Isekai shows. But when Isekai actually wants to try, it's good. Take shows like ReZero, Konosuba, this, Eminence and Shadow. I was honestly amazed how into this show I was. Now, of course, what is The Rising of the Shield Hero? For those who maybe do not know. Before we delve into much spoilers. Pretty much how Rising of the Shield Hero starts, it starts following this guy who is, for lack of better terms, a neat and easygoing Japanese guy named Naofumi Iwatani, who all of a sudden is at a library, he's reading a book about these 4 cardinal heroes, and then gets transported to another world. And in this world, him and 3 other guys assume the role of the cardinal heroes, wielding weapons such as a sword, a spear, a bow, and in Naofumi's case, a shield. And they've been summoned to this world to fight off these waves that have plagued this world forever, which pretty much are just these things that spawn out demons and everything. And it is their goal to level up their weapons, which are like legendary status weapons. The catch is, however, the world worships that of the sword, spear, and bow hero, but when it comes to the shield hero, he pretty much is just an hero when it comes to everybody's reputation with him. And pretty much Naofumi, he starts really strong. It pretty much is a starting from the top, but then we're at the bottom and now we gotta work up from here type of story. The world is always against Naofumi, and pretty much that's the rough gist of the story, is him struggling to find his place in the world while also living up to the status of being a hero that's supposed to save the world, but also trying to stick it to this world at the same time because they've been doing him so dirty. And now we're gonna delve into spoilers, so spoiler warning. I'd say the biggest praise I have for this show, outside of just like production side of things, which we'll get into, is I actually really enjoyed the characters. Like, this just goes to show how easily I can get hooked into something, is that Naofumi just has a character, mainly like his design, his voice. I was already just invested in his story. He's not your stereotypical hero, at least not in the very beginning. At first, like, he's given all these benefits, like, from the kingdom and everything. Yes, you'll fight this hero, and then there's, you know, Mine, who helps him at first, and then there's the whole thing where she falsely Me Too's him, and then that pretty much sets off the entirety of the story from that point on. But where the heart and soul of this whole thing really comes from, especially the very beginning, is the relationship between Naofumi and Raphtalia. That was the one thing I knew going into this story, was that fuck Mine, and Raphtalia is amazing. At the very beginning, like, I saw Mine and I was just like, nope, I'm not falling for any of this, any of your nice girl acts, because I know where this ends up. So I kind of had like that kind of tainted for me, that like twist, I guess. I do love in like the very beginning where, you know, he has like all this stuff taken from him and he's just forced to start from zero, where he feels very anti-hero at the beginning. Not even hero, I would say more like closer to villain at the start. I mean, it's completely justified though, I feel like, because, you know, he was falsely accused and just like cast out. But ultimately, over the course of season 1, it's him building his party. At first it's just him and Raphtalia, and then eventually they get Philo, and then later on down the line they get Melty, who joins them for a little while, and then the bulk of season 1 is just him clearing his name, which I cannot express how satisfying that ending was. Now, of course, if I had watched this show before I had watched Vinland Saga, when it got to the scene where both the king and Mine were supposed to be executed, I will admit there was that part of me inside and even outside a little bit where I was just like, yes, fucking just kill them. But I'm trying to do that a lot more with myself now. You know, Vinland Saga has really changed changed me. Just that idea of I have no enemies. No one deserves to die. And it was that scene, I'd say, that really tested that ideology for myself now. I still had like that impulse of just like, oh, I just want to see them fucking just tortured or whatever. But then I still like caught myself just being like, no, they don't need to die. And ultimately they didn't, which, I mean, it was predictable that it would go that way. To be fair, it was still very nice seeing mine, you know, be exposed for her lies. Ultimately though, where I can see people maybe being turned off from this show is season 1, because, you know, you have now Fumi going through all this stuff, being accused, and then he comes into conflict with a lot of the other heroes, and I did find myself being like, dude, just talk to them. It's just the whole thing of these guys are so just headstrong for no reason. They just listen to everything mine says, and this is a whole manipulation thing, and it's a shame that it doesn't take until about season 3 for all of them to be like, you know what, maybe mine is a bitch. I love that he literally, like, their punishment is just like, the king shall be renamed to trash, and mine shall be renamed to bitch. I know I am kind of jumping all over the place with this, but I mean, that is how my reviews go for this, is I just like throw my thoughts out. Another thing I really enjoyed was the power system. It very much leans into the whole video game idea of it. They literally refer to them upgrading their powers as leveling up. And they talk about like experience points and skill trees. It's one of those ones where it's like OP protagonist, yes, but I mean, it does it in a unique way, I would say. Now Fumi, like, he's the shield hero, you know, he's not meant to have like these offensive abilities, but yet it does interesting takes on it. He has a bunch of different abilities by the end in which it's like, yeah, sure, I guess that's still technically a shield. Now I'll talk about a couple gripes I have. I'd say, other than like some of the dialogue scenes between, you know, him and the other heroes, where it's just like, it's a lot of the same back and forth stuff, where it's now Fumi trying to talk to them rationally, being like, no, I didn't do this. I don't have the power to do this. And them just being like, shut up. You're just trying to deceive us. And it's that pretty much rinse and repeat for the entirety. I was going to say of just season 1, pretty much the entire show till like the end of season 3. But in terms of my other gripe is each season feels disconnected from the others. Like, obviously it's all the same story, but where season 1 ends and season 2 starts, it feels like there's some missing in between stuff, where it makes me kind of want to look into the manga just to be like, does it go from that story to this story just like that? I mean, I do sort of like it at the same time, where it just sort of starts the next story, you know, there's not a whole lot of like, yes, blah blah blah, like I'm the hero, whatever, where it kind of does that like at the start of season 2 and 3, where it's like, yes, I'm now Fumi the shield hero, and yeah, we're gonna save the world. I guess I'm kind of reverse desensitized because of like My Hero, where it's like the first episode every season, this is the story of how I became the world's greatest hero, me and my classmates running through the hall smiling. This sort of, I guess, leads now into me talking about the production side of things. The anime is done amazingly by Kinema Citrus, who we've talked about many of their other shows before, and the music composed by the amazingly talented and one of my favorite composers, Kevin Penkin. And while talking about like the art and animation, the first season, I feel like it was off and on with how good it was. The first episode where I really noticed it was when they fought the waves for the first time. Like, the art at the very least was really good. This show does use CG a lot, but again, I'm not really someone who sees CG and 2D shows and just like, oh my god. I don't automatically write it off as bad, but if it is noticeable or at least funny and janky, I will point it out. I mean, this show had a little bit of that sometimes, but it never felt out of place for me, at least. But season 2, I definitely wasn't alone in thinking this. Season 2 definitely took a dive bomb in quality. Not a huge dive bomb, but for me at least, it was noticeable. Season 2 overall, I think, definitely was my least favorite. It started really strong. I liked the whole spirit tortoise battle thing, but then once they delved into like the Kyo arc, like delving into this guy who from another world, once we started delving into multiverse stuff, you know, all these different worlds and stuff and different heroes mixing and melding, I was like, okay, I'm just here for the ride. But then season 3, holy shit. All of a sudden, right into season 3, like first episode, I'm just like, dude, what? Like, did we get like a huge budgeting? I know budget doesn't matter, but you know, for the memes, the animation and art, is this even the same show? Compared to season 2, it's laughable. A part of me is almost just like, you could maybe just skip season 2, but like you can't, because the story of season 2, like it matters going forward, obviously. Like the main thing I think about is like their fight against the dragon, you know, and like the tiger siblings, like their whole thing. I mean, it's hard just because season 1 obviously was longer. It was 25 episodes, whereas season 2 was only 13 and season 3 was 12. I mean, season 3 was probably probably my favorite just because season 2 introduced a lot of complex and new ideas, whereas season 3 sort of brought it all back and then refocused the narrative and story on like our main cast while still also introducing a bunch of new characters. Like season 3 definitely, I think, like tripled the roster. While at the same time, I feel like Naofumi in season 3, I guess you say my least favorite character, just because I don't know, ever since season 2, now he's starting to feel like, you know, OP protagonist. I don't want to say he's boring, but I don't know, I feel like there's not too much farther that his character can go in terms of growth. Because like where season 3 ends, it's like he has like this whole piece of land, you know, they're regrowing this village, but also where season 3 ends, it ends on a huge cliffhanger. Raftalia put on these clothes, which indicates to this other country that they're declaring war. Okay, safe to assume that season 4 is going to be this war arc or whatever. I mean, also season 3 does a good job at finally bringing in all the heroes together. Except for the spear hero. He's at least on our side, but like, you know, he's still doing his own thing. It just sucks that like all of them had to be so manipulated by Mine to the point where it's only when she leaves them that they're like, you know what, Naofumi, I think you're right. Like, I wish more of mainly Itsuki, the bow hero. Like, I wish his thing was more he was maybe convinced by either Reisha or Naofumi, instead of him just coming and seeing that like, oh, Mine left me and took all my money. Yeah, I guess I'll stick with you guys. I will say, I think, though I didn't like season 2 as much, Reisha definitely is what saved it for me. Because Reisha at the end of season 1, it's just like, oh, okay, so she was abandoned by the bow hero, whatever. Yeah, she's gonna be with us. But then she ends up being like one of the best characters, I'm gonna say. Just because she's one of the characters, like she's shy, she's timid, but like she wants to prove herself. And by the end, she's like super strong. Strong and independent woman while still wanting to be with her mans. But it is funny, like once the sword and bow hero become part of the party, it's like they're just there. You guys have been like dicks. I mean, not those two specifically, but like, you know, they've had their moments where they could have had Naofumi's back more, but now they're just here. They're part of the party. I liked Ren's story though. It's like he was betrayed by Mine. He was dealing with the whole curse stuff with his sword, but then it was Eclair. Right away, I could tell it's just like, oh, okay. Give him a new love interest to be focused on. Because like Eclair, when she was introduced in season 2, I was just like, you kind of came out of nowhere, but I like your design. I like your motives. Now that her and Ren are sort of, I imagine, gonna become a thing, I like it. And then of course, Itsuki and Reisha, obviously you can tell where that's gonna go. I like the, I guess, romance stuff in this, even though it's not at all really focused on. The whole idea of Naofumi and Raftalia, are they gonna end up together? Probably. I don't know. It's really not until the last episode of season 3 where someone asked Naofumi, is just like, so what do you think of Raftalia? Because the whole thing pretty much since like the beginning is like, obviously Raftalia has a crush on Naofumi, but I liked what Naofumi said though. It's just like, I've only ever looked at Raftalia as a daughter, which I mean makes sense because when he first took in Raftalia, she was really small. She pretty much was a child, but because of how her species works, it's the more they level up, they grow up really quickly. It's like within a week, she went from being small child to grown woman. As much as I'd like to forget about the manga of Usagi drop, once a daughter, always a daughter, and then let's just leave it at that. I'm open to seeing this relationship grow more. Maybe he starts to look at her more that way. And then when it comes to the character of Mine, aka bitch/slut, I can maybe foresee it being a thing that maybe Mine starts to become good in some way, or like maybe she joins Naofumi's party. Maybe there will be like an ultimate like final redemption. I was gonna say arc, but it probably would have to be a whole season. I don't see her being a character who maybe just dies. I feel like it has to be a thing where it's just like she's been like this long running antagonist, where maybe at the very end it finally comes back and she's like, all right, fine, I'm sorry. Like she finally apologized to him and means it. Because like if it just ends with her dying, then it's just like, well, then what was the whole point of sparing her from being executed? If you're gonna have her die, then maybe have her like sacrifice herself for the greater good or something. Have that be the ultimate redemption. Though she was a very annoying character, there was a part of me that enjoyed watching her. You know, a lot of people will look at dick characters like her, or one of the biggest examples, Joffrey Baratheon from Game of Thrones. You know, they hate them so much, and it sucks that that actor got backlash in real life, even though he was doing what was written in the script. I always just look at it as just like, if that character invokes those emotions from you, that's the point. You know, that's what they're written to do. Instead of being all mad about it, it's like, I praise it. The voice actress for mine does a really good job, and just how she's drawn and portrayed, I'm just like, I hate you so much. But again, just with what I'm trying to carry forward in my life, that whole thing just like, I hate you, I want you to die. Just as soon as I start saying that, I hear in my brain, I have no enemies. So let's maybe not kill mine, but if she's not gonna be redeemed, can we just like Azula her and just lock her away, let her not see the sun or another person ever again? I feel like she's ultimately going to be some sort of final boss of some sort. Yeah, I did not expect to talk about her that much, but I guess she's an integral character if nothing else. And that's ultimately, I guess, my biggest takeaway from Shield Hero is the characters, and then season 3's amazingly well done animation that I hope carries on to future seasons. And it's an interesting thing looking forward to season 4, because now Fumi's been spending the entire show pretty much like taking in these demi-humans, which have pretty much just been slaves throughout the history of this world, and now he's going to go to war with a country of demi-humans. I did like how that ended though. Season 3 just like, no matter what it takes, even if I have to go to war with another country, like I'll protect my people, I'll do it for Raftalia. It's just like, I love that conviction. It's interesting though, it's just like we have so many characters now. This might just be the dark side of me. I feel like we gotta lose at least one. I feel like that's something now Fumi hasn't felt yet. And before you say anything, I know Ost, you know, she died, but like she was like around for like half a season. I'm talking about like an actual character that we've been with for a while. Either way, I could probably talk about this show for a while. Like I've already been talking a lot longer than I thought I would. Overall, what would I give Shield Hero in terms of a score? I think I gave season 1, 2, and 3 different scores, which I guess I'll do this. Normally I kind of just average it out, but Shield Hero season 1, I think I'll give a solid 8 out of 10. Season 2, I'll give 6 out of 10. The character writing in that season is more what saved it. And then season 3, solid 9. So what would that average it out for? Like an 8.5 out of 10? Something like that. Overall, I really, really enjoyed The Rising of the Shield Hero. Much more than I thought I would. Like I originally clicked on just like, all right, Isekai, here we go. And I was just immediately encapsulated with the characters, the drama, the action. And I cannot wait for season 4 whenever that's going to come out. Probably going to be a while because like season 3 had just recently come out. Whenever it comes out, I can't wait to see it. Either way, thank you all for joining me for my review of The Rising of the Shield Hero. Join me for many other videos of the sort, be they future anime reviews, reactions, gameplay, and anything else that'll be coming out soon. So thank you all for joining me on this. I'm Lancer. Thanks for watching.